And here we are. We're back with Kush Sharma. Kush, thanks for keeping this conversation going. Part 3. Who knew we were going to have this this nice long chat? I'm enjoying myself. Hopefully, people are picking up some good nuggets from your experiences and the stories you're sharing. Thanks for joining me again.
No, thank you for the invitation. I appreciate it. Love to be back.
Yep, absolutely. And for those listening, this is part 3. I'll go out on a limb and say part 3 of 3 parts. we'll try to wrap it up in this one. The first one was all about kind of setting the stage and setting the scope and getting some of the initial requirements understood, and then part 2 we talked about negotiating and kind of the back and forth between the different teams in business and ops and finding the right path forward at the executive level to make sure that they understand what's really going to happen from a business perspective, what controls will do what to the operations, and what risk is left, if any, that the team will need to sign off on. And where I want to take things next, Kush, is kind of, you mentioned you put folks on, somebody's going to own the CRM, somebody's going to own legal process, somebody's going to own sales and distribution. From a security perspective, understanding those systems and those applications and those business processes, and really having that relationship with each of those business units and functional teams to ensure that they know what's going on so that they can identify the risk and put the right controls in place and talk through that stuff with those business teams. What I want to take us to now is all those folks coming back together, assuming they do, under you in some one or more meetings, I'm presuming, where each shares their stories, their updates from the conversations they're having, the projects they're implementing, and the security program updates that follow. I suspect that there are some commonalities across different projects that they're each working on. There might be, so one person might have, well, we just did that last quarter, here's how we proceeded with that project. You might apply this learning to your project and move things forward faster. So talk to me a bit about how that team of functional security leaders, I'll call them, you might have a different term for them, how do they come together? How do those conversations sound? When are you involved in them to help drive your vision for security ops and the CISO office? And what do you take out of it? I'm asking a lot there. So what does it sound like? Where do you drive? Where do you listen?
Yeah, I think if it's a larger project like a digital transformation, right, there's lots of budget, there's onboarding of people, etc. It could be hundreds, maybe thousands of people. And so in those larger scale ones, you need to set that structure up immediately. And so, like larger financial institutions and, let's say Fortune 50 or whatever, they have the business information security officer, right? So they have the BISOs already in place. But, when you're doing a brand new implementation, it's usually something new in a certain area, or they're revamping and write all the old stuff into something new. And so they might not have that structure. So you have to educate the executive that, listen, if we're transforming all the business and then obviously the underlying infrastructure, security is part of the infrastructure. Because they usually forget about that, or they under budget for it. And so you need to be, if you're hired into an organization as their first CISO or a new CISO to take on like these larger projects, because it's a different skill set than a normal CISO, then you need to make sure that they're aware that the team size will increase during the project. So that usually is supplemented by consultants, right? And contractors. And so you would have to set that expectation saying, okay, in order to do all this, we have X resources. We're going to go to Y resources internally. So our OpEx is going to increase. However, in order to get this done in this very aggressive timeline, we need external parties to come in that are experts, sharpshooters. They're going to do all this specific work for us. This is how the team structure is going to be set up. It's going to be focused on the business and focused on the three objectives. Let's say there's three of this transformation, or the company's objectives. One is a transformation, one is a merger, and one could be something else, like a new laws coming in. They have to comply to it. So maybe those are the three priorities and how we're going to support and help those. And so that all has to be broken out and explained first to them to set the expectations that we need business people. We might have to get transfer and second people from the business to our group. A lot of times I do that, which is the simplest way. And then you get the stakeholders buy-in, because you're taking someone from the business unit, bringing them into security, educate them, train them on security. They're going to work with you for a year to 3 years, and they're already influencers in their group. They're already the ones that will tell the story. It's not technical security people. And so if you could convince that one person, and if you could have that person understand technical topics in a way that they can explain it, right? Because they're not security people. You've done your job well, and you're going to be successful because they're going to be the champion for you, and they are from the business. They know everyone. So if that person from the business is telling their colleague, is telling them, no, they're okay. These people are okay. I know why they're doing it. I know the reasons. I know what can happen if we don't do it, and they'll be the ones that are champion. So actually, you don't even have to be out there on the ground level and on the executive level. You just have to worry about the C-suite level, right? And making sure that there's no misperceptions, miscommunications, political agendas, right, that have gone haywire. So you got to worry about those type of kind of issues. And then you basically embedded the business into the security function, vice versa. People say, let's embed security into the business. Well, take the business and put them in security, right? And then they can go back, and then you have all of these BSOs everywhere, right? You could call them whatever, right? But they're basically business folks from the business that do finance, that do logistics, like from the plant, right? These are real people. These are not consultants. These are real people from your organization seconded to you for whatever time you can get them for. And so then also you, in that method, you also save a lot of money. So because they're internal resources, the cost structure is much lower than a consultant. Probably at least 3 to 4 times lower for an internal resource, right? Than a very specialized security consultant, right? That you have to manage and you have to oversee, and they're mostly techies, and you can't have them talk to the business all the time on their own, right? So now you need a layer of PM and all kinds of people on top of that. So if you can take this business approach up front, if you have the benefit of doing it, in smaller organizations, you're not going to have all of that. So you just probably have to be a little bit more hands-on as a CISO if you're in a smaller organization, and do it yourself. Maybe have 1 or 2 people, and then get some consultants to help you with the business side. But the larger organizations, they have these structures already in place for everything else. So that's, I think your first question, I forgot the other 2. You could repeat them.
I know.
First question is,
I like loading up all the.
Yeah. That's how I've done it. And there's learnings there. It's not like it's been successful. I've done it multiple times, and every time I iterate, I adjust, right? And every time there's a different political situation, you have to adjust because the model might not work 100%. So it might work 80%, 90%, but you have to do the tweaks. Every organization is different. And some folks you have to know, some folks will never be happy. Okay, never. No matter what you do, no matter how you help them, they will not like your organization. They don't want to change, and they will be fighting the whole transformation, including your group. So you have to not take it personally. And sometimes you have to have that thick skin and just, let them vent and let them say what they have to say. And then you deal with the other executives, because there's no getting through to that group. And if there's no getting through to them, then you have to escalate, right? So those are the harder conversations to have, but you don't want to get there. But if you do, then you have to be ready. You have to look at yourself like you're the C-suite. And if there's contention in the C-suite, they talk about it. You have to be able to defend your point and your view. You can't go in there like you report to them. No, you're on the same level as them. And that's what CISOs forget many times. You're the CISO. You have to act like C-suite, and you have to defend your position. If you defend your position well, the decision may come to what you're saying, or it might go to whatever the opponent is saying, right? The other executive. But at the end of the day, you have to realize you've done the best you can. The corporation has made it, or the organization or the government has made a decision, and now you have to fall in line immediately. You can't be resisting that, because they've understand the risk and you've told them everything, and people have signed off on it. So now you have to get in line and make sure the mission is going the right way, and that even though you disagree with whatever the decision was, that you implement it, right, with 100% of everything you got, right? So you can't say, oh, I don't like this, and they should have done it this way. Well, I'm not, I'm going to take these two people off and put them on this project now, and they're going to fail anyway. No, you can't be like that. You have to. No, these are the best people. We're going to put them on. We're going to make this successful.
Well, this is you're starting to answer part of one of the other questions, which is how do you engage with your team that are looking at all the different functions? And what I'm hearing as a starting point is understanding your peers' perspectives, holding the ground for what your team is telling you, plus your own knowledge to maintain your position, and then following the decision that the C-suite makes. That, to me, that's bringing back, this is the decision. We may not agree. Here's the plan to make sure that we're implementing it to our best ability to achieve what the company's decisions trying to get as an outcome. So how do you successfully I mean, this is leadership 101, right? But how do you successfully get the team to follow along with that? Because they probably see all the next level details of, well, that decision is going to end up being X, Y, and Z, but I guess we have to follow suit. So how do you bring that back to them?
I typically try to set expectations before any major project starts. So I sit with the team and the key players on the team and say, listen, I'm going to take the perspective of the team, and I'm going to do as much as I can from a security perspective. There'll be some decisions made that, right, are not in our favor, or it's a decision that, is going left and we're going right, but that's the way it's going to be. But the clear message to them up front is I will support you as the leader, and I will at least go and make the case, which many people don't even do. And the fallout of that and the decision that comes out of that is what we're going to live with. And I tell them very clearly, in some cases, it would make sense, and we're going to move forward with our recommendation, right, from a global company perspective or a government perspective. But in some cases, right, there's going to be speed to market or some other driving factor that we need to get this thing out. And then we're going to have to be very, flexible from a security perspective, which means not all the controls are going to make it to production day one. They might make it day 90 or day 180, right? So we're not going to say, don't do these controls. We're going to say, okay, let's be flexible about it, right? And we're going to have risk acceptance, etc. And we're going to do the follow-ups, right? Our team's going to do the follow-ups to make sure that they actually put the controls in when they said they're going to put them in after. So that transparent conversation is vital, right, to have. And many CISOs, because, they have many layers, right? The larger organizations and governments, they have many layers under the CISO, in the CISO organization. So sometimes the message doesn't get filtered down. But so you got to have like an all hands meeting with your whole team, from the analyst all the way to the VP, and say, this is how we're gonna. This is the rules of the road. These are the guidelines, right? We're gonna be helpful. We're gonna be respectful. We're gonna provide our viewpoint. We're not backing down. However, we're gonna be understanding of the requirements and understanding of the view of the other person. And just because something goes to production with not all the recommendation and controls that we have stated, it doesn't mean it's a bad solution, right? The functionality is still there, and they're gaining market share. They're maybe they're number one in the first month or whatever, and their revenue's coming in. Well, that is going to be seen as a positive for security because we helped them through that process, and slowly we're putting in the controls after production, after it's gone live in production. And then we might actually even get more money because they were like, okay, you supported us and we understand the importance of security. So this was your original ask. And I know we cut it, but we just made so much money in the first quarter. We're going to give you the full amount that you wanted. So go ahead and implement that security that we need. And so a lot of times that happens and you're kind of surprised sometimes. But yeah, transparency. Now, if there's no choice, like you didn't have that discussion, get the bad news or not favorable news, and you have to go tell your team, well, you have to be positive about it. So you can't go to the team and say, well, they didn't listen to me. No. Well, you're C-suite executive. You have to do what the organization would like you to do. And you have to be positive about it, right? And so you have to look at every positive aspect of whatever the decision is, and you have to communicate that. And some folks in your organization will not be happy under the CISO, but that's okay. You can't make everyone happy. And there'll be some folks that have some questions. You answer them transparent as possible, right? And then you move on, right? And there's no more discussion after that because the decision has been made. We give an opportunity for our people to give us feedback. So we will take the feedback. We're going to keep track of the feedback. So it's not like our people are telling us something, we completely ignore it, and 2 months later we're like, oh, what was that you told us, right? No, we keep track of it. You actually document it, and you come back to it every few months and say, did we check off any of these boxes, right? As this project is going forward, maybe you have, and then you go back to your team and say, listen, the 10 things that you had questions on, hey, 4 of them we've solved now, right? So that builds credibility and trust within your organization and your people because they're like, yeah, maybe he did not or she did not get everything, but they're working towards that. And then they see the incremental progress. And then when they see that, they're like, okay, no, they're doing something. They're always doing something for the team. They're always doing something for the protection of the organization. And so that quickly translates to trust. Trust builds confidence. Confidence, people are more excited. They're more excited. They do a lot more work. And then when they do more work, we're pumping out more outputs. Outputs come out, right? Business is happy, infrastructure is happy, etc. And the executives see everything that we're doing and how fast we're doing it. It goes back to then the trust and then the confidence, and the cycle continues over and over again. And then you see elevation. Yeah. Then you see elevation in your role. You usually get more responsibilities. So for example, I was doing traditional cyber, then I was given forensics in one of my experiences. Then I was given privacy operations. Then they asked one of the experiences, they told me to do physical security. So it wasn't about the task, right? It wasn't about, hey, take this unit. It was, okay, whatever we're giving this executive, they're figuring it out, even though it's not maybe their area of expertise. And then they're delivering on what the outcome is. But not only that, they're automating things because security people like to automate things, make it more efficient, right? More technology versus human beings in the day-to-day task, right? Because it's very difficult to do those tasks these days. So then you're saving money, you're thinking of new ideas, you're working with them, you're taking on the additional responsibility. Now the additional responsibility translates into what? More intelligence gathering for you as a CISO. Now I always say, yeah, there's a CISO, but our business is actually intelligence gathering. At the end of the day, this is what my feeling is. So we're good at that, right? We receive the information, translate it, then we push it back out, right? Here's an alert. This is what happened. Someone's trying to hack us. But that intelligence comes from various sources. It can come from the physical security world, from the data world, from the business world. So you have to be smart and say, okay, if I got access now to another 100 feeds for physical security, I got access to all the data information from the data team. Now I got access to operations technology. I got access to, let's say, all the HVAC system information. Well, I would be like, why would you take that data? Right? Now you could correlate, and you could look at and make your systems more intelligent, right? Those outputs are more intelligent, more integrated. So if someone, let's say, standing outside a plant, I don't know, let's say it's a water plant, for example, when I used to do water, they're standing outside the water plant for X amount of time, and you got your SIM or your SOAR hooked up, or your data lake hooked up to the CCTV TV cameras, and the feeds coming in. And the cameras are very intelligent these days, right? They have sensors. They're not actually old school cameras. They're actually sensors. So now it's going to flag, and it's going to come into your operations center, right? So they'll get it, and then you'll get the SOC will get it. Then you correlate that with potentially facial recognition, and you see, okay, this person not an employee, right? You could tell that immediately. This person's a contractor. They were supposed to leave yesterday. Why are they here today? That's like real-time data you can get, right? If you put together the different information systems that you already have access to. So you could start becoming more intelligent, and then you say, hold on, send out the security guard right now, right?
Send out the dog.
Why? Like he's a vendor. We understand, and we know who it is, but they're supposed to leave yesterday. Why are they back, right? Did they not finish the job because the contract's finished? So you hook up all of these different systems together to get the data, and then you can make some real world, real life, real time decisions that are tangible. And then you take these examples that you build as a CISO, and you go to the executives and you say, "This is what I did in the last month. This is what this is the data that you gave me, and every time you give me more data, I could see more. And when I see more, I can build more use cases. I can correlate all kinds of different data together." Now, these are all the scenarios that I found just in 1 month. Now, if we didn't find these things, maybe this person would have gone into that plant and caused some problems. Who knows? Right? So these are real life use cases that I usually present. And I dumb it down, right? You got to make it simple. You got to simplify it. But you have to be able to take practical examples of what's actually happening with the investment that they made, right? Millions and millions of dollars of investment, but CISOs forget to go show them that their return on investment is XYZ. And when they see this, that you're catching fraud, you're stopping attacks, executive impersonations, etc., disinformation campaigns, all of this is in the realm of the CISOs with all the tools, right? And the threat intel people, and the SOC people, and the threat hunters, and the pen testers, etc. All of these people together as a holistic team, forensics, etc. You paint that picture that no one else could paint. No one else can provide the end-to-end. Okay, this is what's happening here, and this is the impact over there. And when you do that, they're going to be like, oh, we need to definitely keep the investment going in security. By the way, how much more do you need, Kush? We want you to actually go over here and look at this problem that we have now. So I've been in many circumstances where they give me responsibility that's of areas I have nothing to do with cybersecurity, right? But it's not the cybersecurity, it's the intelligence gathering, it's the way you think, it's the way you make things more efficient, it's the tooling, it's the questions that you ask, right? So you take whatever problem they give you and you're providing a solution. And many cases I've taken it on, provided the solution, right? It took 6 months, a year, 2 years sometimes, depending on how big the problem was, fixed it, and then gave it back to them, right? Because I don't want to do that. It's not my area. And so then that builds a lot of trust. And then you get whatever you want for your budget after that. Like, just ask for whatever you want, you're going to get it.
Well, I love the stories, Kush. And like we went full circle. I think we,
yeah.
Right? Yeah. You bring
it's always
it back
good
to
you got to tie it all together, right?
Exactly.
Because if you don't tie it together, it's like a high level theory discussion that we have as CISOs, but you got to actually put it into practice, and you have to understand the impact of what you're doing on 30,000 feet, but how does it get to zero, right? How do you,
Yep.
and then negative if you're going into the ocean. So how does that whole thing work? You got to understand that and the impacts to everyone in that whole circle, the whole supply chain.
Exactly. Well, what struck me is the storytelling, right? If you can relate it to, well, tell it in a story that they can relate to, and they can see the value to them from the work that you've done, and even the individuals that you bring in, the BISOs that join your team, that then go back to their own departments and communicate back to them the results of their particular programs. I think all that helps to feed security back to the business, so they start to think about that as their, guess what, defining the next innovation and the next transformation and the next business opportunity they're going to pursue, and the next plant they're going to stand up, and the next country they're going to target, and the next whatever it is, right? It'll be top of mind to them because they've heard it from you. All right. Well, here we are. Let's wrap here. I think a nice part 3. I still have many questions, but that's just me. But it's not the last time you'll be here. I suspect. Hopefully, you'll come back for even more. We won't make it a part 4, but we'll pick a different topic. As you know, we I don't know. We spent maybe an hour the other day, kind of walking through some of the stuff that you have available to speak to, and I think we ended up with no lack of opportunities and topics to explore sectors and different parts of the program, different parts of the life cycle. I mean, we had all kinds of things we can talk about. So I think this is a great start with 3 parts, and hopefully everybody enjoyed the conversation, and like I said before, got some nuggets from it. And encourage everybody to listen to all 3. They're roughly 40 minutes each, so nice little bites to chew while you're driving or something. Kush, thank you so much. Been a pleasure, my friend.
Sean. Yeah.
And thanks everybody for listening and watching to these 3 parts of building a CISO office from the ground up with Kush Sharma here on Redefining Cybersecurity. Stay tuned for more on the channel, and who knows when Kush will come back. And if you have an idea for a topic, a problem you're trying to solve that you think we can tease out a bit, let me know in the comments. Otherwise, Kush and I will pick from the list and hit the next one. All right. See you all on the next episode of Redefining Cybersecurity.
Take care.